understand you're having armed guards on the roof.
That's correct.
In that case, I resign. I won't be back after my honeymoon.
Perhaps we could talk about this a little later, Mrs. Jackson.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Davidson, I've made up my mind. I've worked here because I thought I could help these women, but you don't help anybody by shooting them or by making their lives so unbearable that they become even more antisocial. I'm sorry, I resign. Better I leave it to those who enjoy playing God.
I thought so. Another of your stories, Griffin.
She was in there. Megan was in there. They've killed her.
Outside, I'll teach you to waste our time.
Well, that settles it, doesn't it? She is a lag.
I think it's more serious than that. Did you see her face? She really thought there was a body in there. She's as nutty as a fruitcake. And she knows all our escape plans.
Did Smith tell you to make the whole thing up? Is that it?
No, I saw her. She was dead.
Who was dead, Griffin?
If I told you, you wouldn't believe me.
It's obvious she made the whole thing up herself.
They moved her.
Oh, come off it. Where would they hide a body?
They told me a woman died in one of the dryers.
We've looked everywhere, Griffin.
If this is your idea of a joke, I'm warning you. Any more of these lies and you'll spend time in solitary, whether you're on remand or not.
Please don't. I promise I'll never do anything like this again.
Then you admit you've just been wasting our time.
Why?
I think a few extra duties might teach you that we're not here to play games.
B, what am I going to do with these? Because if they find them, that'll prove we're going to escape.
Will you put those away? They're as safe there as anywhere else we can hide them.
You know something? Maybe she isn't gonna lag. I mean, what good would it do her?
Look, if she's crazy enough to think her friend's been bumped off in here, then she's crazy enough to blow the works. Oh, why the hell didn't we just keep her out of it?
Well, why don't we just tell her that we're going to clobber her if she doesn't shut her face? That ought to scare her off.
Oh, sure. Now, look, honey, if that girl is a few cents short of the dollar, bashing her up isn't going to do any good. We're not dealing with a normal mind, you know.
Right. We'll just wait until we can find out exactly how much of this is a snow job. Until we know what sort of game she's playing, we're going to do some backtracking.
Hey, she's coming with Fletch.
Listen, we're not going to talk about the escape in front of her. We're going to make out we were pulling her leg and hope to hell she believes us.
Right, well, I want these sparkling inside and out.
Hey, Fletch, found any good bodies lately?
Just get on with your work, Smith.
Well, that was quite a stunt you pulled.
They thought I was lying.
And were you?
No, I told them that I saw her, but I didn't tell them it was Megan. They don't even believe that she exists.
Do you really reckon that you saw your friend in there?
Well, that's why she can't help me. If she knew I was in trouble, she'd tell the police that they've got the wrong person. If she isn't dead, why doesn't she come and help me?
How do you think she got in here? And in the laundry?
Oh, I don't know. You don't believe me either, do you?
Sure we do, honey.
I'm telling you that Megan's dead. I found her. When I went into the bedroom, she was in the cot. She wasn't breathing. The doctor didn't know why. He said it was a cot death.
Anne, who are you talking about?
Well, my baby, Megan.
But you told us that your husband took her away. How many kids have you got?
Oh, I didn't tell you that. She was all I had. Now she's dead. I named her after my friend, Megan. Now she's dead, too. That's why she can't help me.
You got yourself out of a nice little job today.
Yes, we had a lot of tidying up to do.
Well, it was a total waste of a morning.
She must have thought she'd seen something.
Rubbish. She's a born liar. I told you that after she forged the letter from her so-called friend.
Probably because she's desperate to have someone believe her, that's all.
She wanted a phony alibi. You know, her solicitor doesn't even think there is a friend, nor do the police. You know, they checked with the family, and the only Megan they know was her baby who died a few years ago.
Oh, Vera, that's awful.
Well, the family aren't wasting too much sympathy on her.
I don't know how anybody can wipe their own children as soon as they get into trouble. It's when they need them most.
You can't afford to be so gullible, Meg.
Oh, yes, I can. I've resigned.
Oh, Meg, you don't mean that.
I'm not coming back after the wedding.
Well, you can't, but why?
I am just fed up with the way Gillespie is organising Wentworth.
He's only going by the book, and it is for our protection.
Yes, and what about the women?
Well, what about them?
I didn't join the service to become an armed guard, Vera. I wanted to help these women, not become part of a punishment machine.
Look, you're overreacting. Give it a few more days.
No, thanks. Well, I better be going. I'll see you in the morning. You know, I don't think she knows what stories she's told us and what stories she hasn't.
That's what I'm counting on.
How the hell are we going to work on our escape clothes with her hanging around?
I'm thinking, all right?
Why aren't you working on your escape clothes?
What clothes?
The ones you're making out of the material you stole.
Oh, and I thought you were on to us.
What do you mean?
We were pulling your leg. Oh, we would make up that sort of thing all the time to relieve the boredom.
Yeah, hell, you wouldn't catch me going down a hole in the ground.
Yeah, we really had you going for a while there, didn't we?
I almost started believing it myself.
You're lying.
Listen, sweetie. If I say there are no escape plans, you had better believe it. But if you don't, I'm liable to get very nasty.
Don't do this. Don't do that or you'll be locked in your room. Don't cry, you're not a child anymore. Sit up straight. Remember who you are. Be a lady. Don't speak back to me. You do as you're told. Damn you! I won't! I won't! You're always setting the rules. Well, I won't let you. You're not going to tell me what to do anymore. You'll make me hurt you like the last time.
You're the one that clobbered me from behind. I should wring your neck.
Please, no, don't hurt me. Don't punish me. I wouldn't hurt anyone, I promise.
You ever touch me again and I won't think twice about killing you.
Won't? I know too much. But you can trust me. We're friends, aren't we?
Snakes and lizards, rats and feathers, grant this wish of Cinderella.
Crash my wallet! What do you think you're doing?
Well, that's where the flash of light comes and nothing happens because your spell doesn't work.
You'll be a wonderful fairy godmother, Lizzie.
Oh, if she remembers her lines.
Well, how can I with you making all them noises? You scared the life out of me.
Then you say, oh, dear,
You know, it's as though she's got two different people living inside of her.
Well, I don't trust either one of them. We'll have to work out some way of keeping her busy until we can get rid of her.
Oh, well, if it isn't the life of the sewing circle.
All right, only 4 of you to work on the costumes. The rest of you off to the recreation room.
Okay, Doreen, Lizzie, Irene can give me a hand.
What about me?
Oh, you worked on those yesterday, honey. Anyway, I was hoping that you'd come down the rec room and help me teach Margot how to be Prince Charming.
But I want to work on the dress.
Oh, come on, it'll be fun. You can help them later.
Crikey, I really thought she was going to blow it that time.
Well, what are we going to do, Bea? Even hearing Mimi lines gives me the shivers. She could turn at any second. Yeah, I don't know yet. When she does turn, though, we're going to make sure she goes the way we want her to.
Well, news like that deserves champagne. Remind me to buy a dozen. You've been at Wentworth a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Look, darling, if work's that important, there are other jobs. I mean, I've got contacts and, well, I'm sure an intelligent, attractive, gorgeous, sexy lady like yourself should have no trouble at all. Look, what am I saying? You should be my secretary.
Well, come to think of it, it's about time I had a look at your secretary.
Oh, you mean Snazzy Suzanne?
Snazzy?
That's a bit old hat, isn't it?
You haven't seen Suzanne.
It wasn't just a job to me, Bob.
I know.
It's just that I'm used to being in institutions, that's all. Now I know how the prisoners feel when they're released.
Well, as long as you don't become a recidivist.
I can't help it. It's the way I feel.
But is that from being brought up in an orphanage or spending too long behind bars?
I didn't tell you that I was born in prison, though, did I? I was a war baby. A late war baby. My mother was pregnant and didn't have any support and somehow got involved in the black market.
Well, a mortal sin to go against the war effort, huh?
She got 5 years.
What about family? Couldn't they help?
Well, I don't know that there was any. My father was an American soldier. He got killed before they were married. At least that's what she used to tell me when she came to visit me. Who knows? And she didn't have much to hold on to by the time she was released. They wouldn't even let her have me.
Is she the reason you've always worked in a prison?
I suppose so. I thought I could do some good. Who knows? Make her life a bit more meaningful. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think you've done more than your share.
Oh, for crying out loud. You're supposed to be Prince Charming, not a wharfie.
Yeah? Well, it's pretty hard trying to imagine you as Cinderella. All I keep seeing's the ugly sister.
Listen, if you can't do it with me, you'll never do it with Doreen.
Why don't you ask Griffin? She's got plenty of imagination.
Oh, yeah, sure. How about it, Anne? You want to show Margot here a bit of class?
All right.
Observe. Spot on. Now, that's how it should be done. Come on, try it again.
Kids will reckon he's a real puss.
My brother played Prince Charming once. He was wonderful.
Big deal.
Is that the one you got the letter from?
And he used to call me Cinderella. He said he'd always look after me. I can't wait to see him again.
That might be difficult, wouldn't you say? Especially as that letter told you your family wanted nothing more to do with you.
It's not true.
Why don't you go play with a frayed power cord?
I can easily have you taken out of the pantomime, Bryant. So I'd watch that smart tongue of yours if I were you. And I wouldn't believe everything that Griffin tells you either.
Is everything all right, Miss Bennett?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Although Griffin's still having trouble telling the difference between her lies and reality.
Hey, Anne. You believe what you want to believe. Don't take too much attention about people saying your family dumped you. You want to know something? My family dumped me. You don't see me falling apart.
Thanks, Judy. Oh, listen. I know you haven't got any money, and you'll need some when you escape.
We're not
so-
going anywhere, remember?
Well, I was going to give you back that $3. It wasn't mine anyway. Well, I just said I was robbed like everyone else.
You little bitch! It was you!
Lay off.
Lay off? She planted the money on you and you're sticking up for us?
I'm going to go and see Bea now. I want you to look after her and don't push her around.
What's going on?
We got problems. Well, the only reason I can come up with is that she planted that money on me because I turned her down.
What do you mean?
She told me she was gay. Hell, I knew that wasn't true. Well, I should have known then she wasn't all there.
Well, that gives us something to work off.
Like what?
So far, the only time she's gone off the deep end is when she feels she's being bossed around or left out.
Well, we can't get her to help us now.
Well, the screws know she's a born liar. They won't believe a thing she tells them.
Oh, it's too risky. But if they thought she was off her rocker, that's something else again. Listen, you better get out of here. I've got some thinking to do.
Gee, I sure hope that Helen's doing better at her end.
So do I, otherwise we're in real strife.
I got a little job, Weasel. Thought you could help me out.
Ooh. Careful, we don't want to burn those talented fingers of yours, do we?
What do you want?
Driver's licenses.
$100 apiece.
Oh, I don't think so, Weasel. This job you're going to do out of the goodness of your heart.
Get nicked.
Because if you don't, I'll be forced to tell the cops about the passport you were working on for Judy Bryant.
Never heard of her.
Oh, and I suppose you've never heard of the $500 she paid you for services not rendered.
Prove it.
Oh, I'll leave that for the pigs. Now, the way I see it, you're still ahead, so you're not being too badly done by. The names and information I want on those licenses.
I only cut 'em out rough, Bea. I could nick some scissors for later, eh?
Oh, use your head, Lizzie. Fletch checks everything. This'll have to do.
Oh, for they put the cotton and needles in there too.
Oh, I thought my ticker had gone there for a minute.
Oh.
Right, let's pack it in. Scissors.
Oh, over there. Hey, Mr. Fletcher, I don't mean to, say anything against this new inspector bloke, but don't you think he's carrying his security a bit too far?
Have to get used to it, Smith.
Oh, it's enough to drive you up the wall.
Yeah. Not doing that poor Anne much good, neither.
You mean Griffin?
Funny you should say that. She's been acting really strange lately.
Yeah. One minute she tells you one thing, the next minute she tells you something else. I don't reckon she's the full quid.
And what about when she said she saw the body in here? If you ask me, I reckon she ought to be in the loony bin.
If she really is crazy, Mrs. Davidson will have her moved, won't she, Fletch?
If she's sick, we'll find out soon enough, Smith.
Well, I hope you do find out, and soon, because she could be dangerous.
Hey, don't wait for 2 seconds. You're off like a shot.
Why, have you been watching me?
Of course not. We just wonder what happened to you, that's all.
I thought B might want me to smuggle some more material into your cell.
You're still going on about that. We certainly got you hook, line, and sinker, didn't we?
Yes, we certainly did.
I hope Tracy's day release comes through.
Oh, I shouldn't think there'd be any problems, darling. Of course, if I had resigned earlier, she wouldn't have had to go to Barnhurst, and then you could have seen her more often.
Well, after what's been going on with Wentworth, I think she's better off where she is.
Oh, we're not at home. Vera!
Well, I hope I'm not interrupting anything. I just had to talk to you.
Yes, of course.
Vera,
Bob, I won't stay long.
can I get you a drink?
No, thank you. I don't drink.
Well, how about a tea or coffee?
Coffee would be nice, thank you.
Darling?
Lovely, yes.
I've been thinking about you, Meg, and I don't think you should resign. Well, that job means as much to you as it does to me. Well, I mean, what sort of a life will you have without it?
Wonderful, I should think.
Well, what will you do? You've been married before, you've even brought up a son, but you still worked at Wentworth.
Oh, let's see. There'll be a lot of entertaining to do. Trips away, clubs to join, charity work. Oh, yes, and a big house to look after. I'm sorry I can't offer you more, darling.
Meg's not used to that sort of life, and it's hard to make a complete change.
Well, I'm going to give it a good try. Vera, I know you're worried about me, but I'll be fine.
I know we haven't always seen eye to eye on things, but I must admit you know the women better than anyone. And at times, well, they need someone like you around.
Vera, that's very nice.
Well, it's
but
just
there
that you're letting everybody down, that's all.
That sounds a bit like emotional blackmail to me, Vera.
I only want what's best for Meg.
So do I.
Vera, I'm not going to the other side of the world. We'll still be friends.
I know what it's like when people get married. Things change.
Not where friends are concerned.
It won't be the same without you and Jude Dorr. Wish I'd never found that bloody book.
You're going to have B and the others, Lizzie, and by the time you get out, we'll be set up real good.
Yeah, but we were going to do that education program and plan what we were going to do in business.
We can't do anything with Gillespie telling old Davo what to do all the time, and I'm not staying in this rat hole any longer than I have to.
You're not out yet.
Show us where that drain comes out again, B.
Right there, if you don't take the wrong turn.
Yeah, well, I hope Helen gets a truck okay.
That's the easy part. She's got to get to the bank and forward your signature and get the money out first.
Well, when are we going to dump these things down the hole? It's not going to be easy with all them screws on the fence.
Something will come up, which is why we have to be ready for the right moment. And these have to be finished, which they won't be if you keep asking me questions.
B,
What now?
well, if they're going to escape during the panto, how are we going to keep the screws busy all that time? They might find a hole.
We'll make them think they went over the fence.
Yeah. Maybe we could get a ladder and throw a blanket over the barbed wire. That should fix it.
Right.
Yeah?
Well, we're not going to have very long to finish this second lot of costumes.
Well, as soon as we get rid of Griffin.
Shouldn't take too much to show the screws she should be in a padded cell.
Yeah.
See you tonight, darling.
Yeah, have a good day.
My last.
We'll have a night on the town to celebrate. Morning.
Oh, good morning.
Thank God you're getting out.
Apparently, it's unarmed combat next.
Oh, great. So my wife can throw me around, huh? No, thanks.
I can always protect you against snazzy Suzanne. Bye.
You're beginning to sound just like him.
What?
Well, you used to take your job seriously.
He's got a daughter in prison, Vera. If anyone understands, Bob does.
Well, then he should know that the tighter security will mean far less trouble.
G'day.
$3,000.
Yeah, I want to buy a truck, you see. Or a car. I don't know. I'm just sick of catching trams.
Could give you a bank check.
Oh, gee, thanks. But cash will be real good.
How do you want it, Mrs. Burns?
Let's see. I think 50s and 20s would be okay.
Why are you all so tired?
Oh. Lizzie kept us awake with her story.
Judy's not in with you.
Me? I'm as fit as a Mallee bull.
Do you have to be watched 24 hours a day? Now get back to work or I'll put you on report.
That might be a good idea. Might stop a few people from seeing bodies where there aren't any.
Who'd you say you saw again, Anne? Your friend, wasn't it? Megan, that's it.
Oh, come on, leave the girl alone. If she says she saw Megan, then she saw Megan.
But I didn't. I told Miss Bennett I was lying, and I was. Megan doesn't exist.
Well, I'm glad to see you've learnt your lesson, Griffin. It's a pity the others don't learn quite so quickly. But they will by the time Mr. Gillespie's got through with them. Oh, by the way, you might be interested to know that Mrs. Jackson leaves today. She's resigned.
Not Mrs. James!
There's no place for her in Wentworth anymore, and she's been wise enough to see it. From now on, we'll run this place like a prison.
But she can't leave. She just can't.
Bloody mongrels. Life won't be worth living anymore.
Yeah, damn it. She was the best screw we had in this prison.
We've got to stop her, Bee.
You know, when I had to resign that time, I even missed this coffee.
Oh, I think I'll be able to break the habit easily enough.
No, it's not very nice, is it?
Oh, here we are. Just to make the invitation official.
Oh, thanks, Mick.
Looks like the good wishes are rolling in already.
Marvellous.
Everything all right?
It's from Marty. Won't be able to make the wedding.
Well, that's a blow.
Can't keep up with him. He's off on a ship now.
Well, look, seeing as I have to work while you're off enjoying the wedding, what say I take us off for an early celebration, eh?
That may not be necessary, Mr. Fletcher. I think you should attend the wedding. I think I can remember enough of my basic training to be on duty in your place.
Well, thank you very much, sir.
Speaking of senior officers being on duty, could you see to it you don't all take a break together?
Yes, sir.
Could I have a word with you, please, Mr. Jackson?
Yes, of course.
Excuse me. I've got work to do.
I just wanted to say how sorry I am to see you go. The only fault I can find with your record is that you're a bit inclined to become emotionally involved.
Yes, well, with all the changes happening, I don't think I could possibly work here anymore.
Well, I know I'm old school, but I came up through the ranks. And past experience proves that my methods are successful.
Oh? In what way, Mr. Gillespie?
In keeping the peace.
Really?
I know. Your late husband didn't agree with me either. We clashed several times over his philosophy on rehabilitation programs. I respected his point of view, but he was a bit ahead of his time, I'm afraid.
I disagree. His ideas should have been introduced years ago.
To be blunt, that sort of thinking is what got him killed. My aim is to see
Mr.
that...
Gillespie. Violence killed him. And if we'd tried to understand these women sooner, that violence wouldn't have happened. Excuse me.
You know, Mrs. Jackson couldn't have timed it better.
I don't want her to go at all.
Yeah, but we won't be here that much longer anyhow.
Yeah, but Bea and Lizzie will.
She's been good to me, Bea. She's been good to all of us.
Yeah, well, she's still a screw. Anyone want to hear what I got in mind? Yeah. Well, we can't let her go without a real send-off, can we? And we might just be able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Talking about me, aren't you?
Don't flatter yourself.
I know what you're up to. You're trying to get me committed. Well, my family won't let you. They're very important people. They're influential and they're rich and they love me. I won't have you telling lies about me. There's never been any insanity in my family, never.
All right, now calm down. It's okay. Listen, if you want to help, we'll let you help. Lizzie, where's that present we're giving Mrs. J?
Oh.
Get it, will you? Now, if you want to give us a hand, do you reckon you can get those finished by this afternoon? That's a girl.
Listen, you get that screwball off my back. Because if she stops my plans from getting out of here, so help me God, I'm going to kill her.
Yeah, well, maybe Mrs. Jackson can do us one last favour before she leaves.
Where's she going?
To the loo. Do you mind?
Do you reckon if we talked to her, we could get her to stay, Dor?
I don't know. I just know that I wouldn't want to work here with that mealy-mouthed Gillespie.
Maybe if we told her that we couldn't get along without her.
Mrs. Jackson, any chance of speaking to Mrs. Davidson?
Is it important?
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't. It's kind of personal, though. Listen, while you're here, what do you think of this Anne character?
You know we don't discuss an inmate with the other prisoners.
Well, I just thought you might like to know. The girls and I think she's headed for a wobbly.
Well, none of the other officers have mentioned it.
You know what Vera and Fletcher like. You've got to be foaming at the mouth before they'll do anything. Then they're likely to turn around and shoot her.
If you're so concerned, why don't you speak to Mrs. Davidson?
Well, we could be wrong, of course, but I thought you might like to check it, having more experience than the others. But if you don't care about it...
All right, I'll speak to her.
Look, it'd be better if she didn't know I had anything to do with it. Just have a chat to her after lunch or something.
If things remain as quiet as they are, I may be able to leave you earlier than expected.
I hope it's not the lull before a storm.
Not if we maintain stringent security.
Breaking the women's spirit has never helped in the past, Mr. Gillespie. Come in.
Smith would like to see you, Mrs. Davidson.
Send her in.
What I've got to say, I'd like to keep between us ladies.
You'll say what you have to say in front of me or not at all. Thank you, Mrs. Jackson. We won't keep you from your work.
Well, Smith?
We heard Mrs. Jackson was going to quit.
Yes, she has.
Well, we'd like to give her a send-off, if that's okay.
I don't think that'll be necessary.
Are you still governor here or not, Mrs. Davidson?
What did you have in mind, Smith?
Well, seeing as she's going to miss the pantomime, we'd like to run through a few things we've rehearsed for her.
Yes, I think that will be all right, Mr. Gillespie.
As long as it doesn't disrupt the schedule.
Well, we've got 15 minutes after lunch before you put our leg irons back on.
That's enough, Smith. I'm agreeing to your request because I'm sure Mrs. Jackson would appreciate it.
Here, thanks, Mrs. Davidson. Oh, there's one other thing. We'd like to do it in the garden, if that's okay, so we can get used to working outside. I mean, want those kids to have a really good time.
Very well. Is that all?
Yeah, and thanks again, Mrs. Davidson.
Wait at the security gates for an officer. Thank you for not objecting, Mr. Gillespie.
It isn't good to let a prisoner see that there's conflict at the top, Mrs. Davidson. But I'm sure you're aware of that.
Just a minute, Anne. Just Anne. The rest of you can go ahead. How are you settling in?
All right.
You know, if there's anything worrying you, you can always go to Mrs. Davidson.
Oh, why should anything be worrying me?
I know about that letter from your family. Now, if you'd like us to try and contact them and explain...
No. They didn't mean what they said. They're just punishing me, that's all. As soon as my trial's over and they know I'm innocent, they'll have me back.
What do you mean by punishing you?
Oh, they're just strict, that's all. I don't like to be embarrassed. But it'll be all right as soon as they know I'm innocent. I've told the police I don't need any money. My family's rich. Why would I want to rob anyone? And I could never threaten anyone with a knife. I hate knives.
Well, without Megan to testify, it could be very difficult to prove.
Don't worry, Mrs. Jackson. Everything will be fine.
Well, I finally finished these trousers. It's a bit of a rush job. I hope the stitches hold.
They'll last until you can buy yourself something on the outside.
The outside. Sounds good, doesn't it?
Just think, all these years ago when they was laying down these cellars, I bet they didn't reckon there was going to be a prison on top or it'd be joined to a drain so we can get out of here. Are you sure when you was down there you didn't see one bottle of booze?
Lizzie, will you put that book away and learn your lines?
A fairy godmother can say anything she likes.
A fairy godmother will get her magic wand shoved where it does the most damage if she messes this one up.
Do you reckon Mrs. J will really think there's something wrong with Anne? I mean, she's been pretty cagey with Fletch and old Bennett.
The main thing is we've planted the seed of doubt. Jackson's just given us breathing space to get these wrapped up.
Yeah, well, you just be careful that when she finally does blow her top, you're not in her way.
Don't worry, I'll look after myself. With any luck, I'll get old Vera in the firing line.
Where do you think you're going with that?
Well, look, that's a present for Mrs. Jackson. We're going to give it to her later.
Get moving. And hurry up about it. I've been waiting long enough for you.
Okay, I'll keep this short as the Inspector General's only given us a few minutes. It seems Mrs. Jackson would rather go away on her honeymoon than suffer Cinderella behind bars. So we're going to give her a sample of what she'll be missing. If she likes it, she might come back for the full show, and I can go on the honeymoon in her place.
Imagine the look on Bob's face.
Hurry up, Smith.
Okay, on with the show. Cinderella, Doreen Burns. That'll do. Fairy godmother, Lizzie Birdsworth.
Oh, get the hook, Lizzie, get off.
And Buttons, Mighty Mouse. Yay!
Do you reckon they'll be able to hear us up the back bay?
Not if you squeak like that.
Oh, well, hang on. Listen, is it all right if I stand at the back and make sure everyone can hear?
Yeah, it's all right, Brian. Off you go.
Thanks.
Okay, girls, get on with it.
This is the part where, Cinderella's talking to Buttons.
Oh, louder, please.
And talking about going to the prince's party.
I wish I could go to the prince's party.
I've just had an idea. I've got a cousin who works at the Prince's Palace. He could get us a job there as waiters. At least we'd see what was going on. What do you reckon? Say.
Okay.
I'll just ring my cousin.
After Buttons has gone, there's a
What did Mrs. Jackson want?
She just wanted to see if I was all right.
She didn't happen to mention anything about your family, did she?
Yes.
Now, listen, I don't want to get you into a flat, but Vera's been spreading it around to the other screws. She thinks you ought to be moved.
What? Where?
Drat it. I never seem to be able to frighten anybody these days.
Why is it that you're wearing L plates?
Well, I've had a bit of trouble passing me tests. The last time the examiner asked me to turn him into a charming prince, but I turned him into a frog.
Ooh, was he angry?
I don't know, the cat ate him.
You don't seem to be.
She thinks there's some insanity in your family.
Well, I've had a few.
No.
Well, she's got a rotten chick. You know, you should never have lied to her. You know what Vera's like. If she wanted to put you in a padded cell, she'd do so just out of spite.
Yeah, well, I hope she's not singing her head off right now.
She won't be. She'll be too afraid of what they're going to do to her. Besides, where's the proof? All those clothes are safely down the tunnel. It'll just be another one of her stories.
Well, I hope they throw her in the pound and toss away the key.
No, that won't do any good.
Oh, you're not feeling sorry for her, are you?
Look, I'm just saying the poor bugger needs help, and we certainly haven't given her much of that.
Oh, well, it was either her or us, wasn't it?
Well, what do you reckon?
No, it's not ugly enough. I can still tell it's Jude.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Well, if Bev's going to stand in for you, you shouldn't be able to tell the difference. She should have a chin or something else as well.
Beg. Doreen said you wanted to see me.
Oh, yeah, Mrs. J. Irene's going to need a ladder to help set up the stage properly. Do you think you could wangle one for us?
Now, why didn't you ask one of the other officers?
Oh, because you're the only one who'll give us a fair hearing, Mrs.
Now,
J.
that's nonsense, Lizzie, and you know it. But I'll see what I can do.
Oh, thanks. Look, we meant to give this to you before in the garden, but there was too much ruckus and we forgot. It's supposed to be a wedding present, but I suppose now it'll have to double as a farewell present too.
Thank you.
Unless you change your mind.
Yeah, it's not too late to change your mind. I mean, after all we've been through together, you can't run out on us now.
Yeah, and who's going to stand up for us against Vinegar Tits and Dizzy?
Oh, now, Doreen.
Well, it's true. Old Bennett can't wait till you leave until...
I'll remember that, Burns.
Oh, hello, Miss Bennett.
Well, these are lovely. Thank you very much. I'll treasure them.
Oh, well, the idea is to use them, not treasure them.
Yes, all right. Well, I'll come and see you before I go.
Where do you think you're going?
There's something I want to say to Mrs. Jackson.
All right. You're fools if you think you can make her stay. Why should she? When all you ever do is make her feel she's wasting her time trying to help you.
You got a minute, Mrs. Jackson?
Yes, Bea.
What's happening about Anne?
Well, she'll be kept in solitary.
But she's sick.
If you'd let me finish. She'll be kept in solitary until Dr. Wiseman has seen her.
Well, that's more like it. But what if you can't find anything wrong with her? She's pretty good at putting on an act. Or didn't you see through her either?
If you're that worried about her, as I said before, why don't you go and speak to Mrs. Davidson?
Well, that's right. You're getting out, aren't you? We're not your problem anymore. Not that I blame you. You can't stand what's happening in Wentworth any more than I can.
Now, who told you that?
No one had to tell me. I've been here long enough to know when someone's throwing in the towel. Seems a pity, though. The only screw that gives a damn about us walking out on us.
Well, what I do with my life is my own business.
You're right, of course, but you see, I care about what happens in Wentworth. Now, what about someone like Anne and Lizzie? A bloke like Gillespie isn't going to care about what happens to them. Mrs. Jackson, tell me something. When Mr. Jackson was murdered in here, how come he didn't quit on us then?
All right. If you didn't attack Miss Bennett, then who did?
I can't remember, and that's the truth, I swear.
Have you ever suffered from blackouts, Anne? Lapses in time? A few minutes, an hour, when you couldn't remember what happened immediately before? Then how do you explain not being able to remember this afternoon's incident? Do you consider yourself a truthful person?
Yes.
All right. Now relax and we'll think back to when you were, say, a teenager. How did you get on at school?
I didn't go to school until I was 14. Then I went to boarding school. I had a tutor until then.
Was your family on the land?
No, they just didn't want me to go to school, that's all.
What about brothers and sisters?
My brother went to school, but I wasn't allowed.
Why not?
I was special.
Special? In what way special? All right, now about your tutor. What did you think of him as a teacher, for instance?
He was always telling me what to do.
And you didn't like that?
He used to lock me in my room for hours if I didn't get everything right.
And what did your parents think of that?
They didn't believe me. So I stopped telling them. But I used to tell Megan. She was the only friend I had. She believed me.
And where's Megan now?
She's dead.
Why did your parents think you were special?
I can't remember. They just did. I can't remember. I can't.
What are you two doing here?
Well, Miss Bennett said it would be okay if we came in to say goodbye.
Oh, did she?
Yeah. She must be going a bit soft in the head, I reckon.
Yeah, because what we wanted to say to you, Mrs. Jackson, well, we couldn't really say in front of the others because they would have reckoned we were sucking up to a screw.
What Dora's trying to say is, we know you got a life of your own, Mrs. Jackson, and it must be awful looking after rotten mongrels like us, but you've been more of a friend than a screw to us, and now that you're going out to marry this nice bloke, Mrs.
Yeah,
Jackson...
we know that we let you down a lot, but that doesn't mean that we don't need you. I mean, once you get put inside a place like this, most people couldn't care if you dropped dead. And they just treat you like you're dirt or something, you know. But you don't. And you made us feel like we were real people.
Staff room. Yes, Mrs. Davidson. Yes, I'll be right there. I'll keep in touch, I promise. I'm not likely to forget you two. And when you get out, I expect you to come and visit me, all right? Goodbye, Doreen.
Bye, Mrs. Jackson.
Lizzie, I never thought I'd live to see the day when you'd run out on us.
If Dr. Wiseman wants to keep her under observation in hospital, then I think Anne should be moved. She certainly appears to have problems.
Well, that could have something to do with the other women.
What do you mean?
I get the feeling that they don't want her around.
Well, Smith seems genuinely concerned about her, according to Mrs. Jackson.
I don't believe Smith. All this is just to help her get off at her trial. They're all in it together.
I agree with Miss Bennett. The only thing we should be discussing is how long she spends in solitary for striking an officer.
Well, Dr. Wiseman feels it will only add to her deep-seated fear of being locked up, something to do with her past.
You're not suggesting we let her get away with it.
I am not keeping her in solitary, Miss Bennett.
Punishing her isn't going to do any good if she needs help.
All right, Mrs. Davidson. But until Dr. Wiseman comes up with some facts to prove that she needs special treatment, she stays in Wentworth, and that's final.
Oh, got the ladder. Clothes are safely in the tunnel. Makeup. We're nearly there. All we have to do is get the double sets of costumes finished.
Oh, if we're going to have to stay up all night again, Bea, I'm not going to have the strength to get out.
Yeah, we've still got a couple of days left, and with Anne off our back, we should be able to finish them after work.
Oh, I'm going to ask them if I can have 40 winks.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You know, it's a pity that Vera isn't getting married instead of Mrs. Jackson.
Yeah, it is, but who the hell in their right minds would want to marry Vera?
Yeah. Can't you just see her on her wedding night? All right, you. You've got exactly 10 minutes to make a woman out of me. Now move, you animal.
Oh, crikey.
Struth. How did you get out of that one? What? You've only got to answer Vera back and you cop a stint in the pound.
They can't punish me if I'm innocent. I didn't do anything.
Great. Back to square one.
How could you possibly sit there and say that girl doesn't need help?
Because that's what she wants us to think. I don't know why you're so upset, Meg. You won't have to worry how Wentworth's being run after today.
Unlike you, Vera, I put people first and my job second.
Then you should fit in very well with your new circle of friends. I'm sure they do plenty of charity work. You'll be able to ease your conscience without getting your hands dirty.
Excuse me, Mrs. Jackson.
Yes, Lizzie.
This is for you. It's not much, but it's all I had.
But you've already given me a present.
No, not on my own. That's just something for you to remember me by. And what I said before, I didn't mean it. You got to do what's best. And working in here's no good for a nice young woman like you. You got to be as tough as old boot leather to work in a dump like this.
Lizzie, you'll be all right.
Oh, yeah, I'll be all right. I got to take what they dish out. And you got no rights once they lock them doors on you.
That's nonsense.
And if that new husband of yours doesn't know what he's getting, I'll have a thing or two to say to him.
Yes? Oh, Meg, I was going to say goodbye.
Well, I'll see you before the wedding.
Yes, but I just wanted to tell you how much I've always relied on your support. I'll miss having you around.
Well, it'll only be for a short time. I'd like to take back my resignation, if that's all right with you.
All right. But, Meg, I'm delighted. What made you change your mind?
Well, I think I'd like to show the Gillespies of this world that there are two ways of doing everything.
I could do with the help.
Just hope I can explain it to Bob.
Oh, Bea, I don't think I'll even have the strength to eat tea.
I'll believe that when I see it. Where's the book?
What?
The book, where is it?
Oh, I gave it to Mrs. Jackson for going away present.
You what?
Well, I found it was my book. I could do what I like with it.
You flaming idiot! I'd marked some of the pages of that book, the pages that tell us where the drains are. Do you know what you've done? You've handed them the escape plans on a silver platter.
He used to give me roses. I wish he could again. But that was on the outside, and things were different then. On the inside, the sun still shines, and the rain falls down, but the sun